Hi guys, it's Attorney Terri Herron, your divorce and family law attorney. And today I wanted to talk about the four categories in a parenting plan when it comes to joint legal custody. Man, you guys just don't get the joint legal custody thing. I hear y'all be like, joint legal, sole legal, I want full custody, I want only custody. Listen, joint legal, let's talk about it. So tonight I'm just going to focus on joint legal, okay, and what that really means, because when I see people coming into the office and they are so fearful of saying or giving the other person or just agreeing to joint legal custody, you should not fear that. You shouldn't fear it, because listen, when it comes to joint legal custody, all we're saying is you need to confer with the other side. Confer. You should be able to confer because you should be co-parenting, all right? You guys have the children together, so you guys should be able to co-parent. I get that that doesn't always happen. I get that that may not be able to happen when you're dealing with certain personalities, but let's give it a try, okay? Because you have to, whether you get along with the other person or not, learn to co-parent. All right, so joint legal is all we're talking about tonight. There's a lot that we can cover as far as parenting plans, as far as joint physical and things of that nature, but joint legal is what I wanted to focus on, okay? So there are four categories. There is education, non-emergency health care, extracurricular activities, and there is religion. So let me just start at religion. Really, religion typically doesn't matter, because usually I get people, they have the same religious background, okay? Christian, or, it may be non-denominational, and it may be Southern Baptist. It's Jesus for y'all, okay? We get that. So that's pretty much the same. But when you have extremes, like maybe it's Christian and Muslim, maybe it's Jehovah's Witness, and then you have, versus Christian, it may make a difference for some people. But let me just tell you, typically what I see is, I see parents really at this point saying, listen, I'll take the children to church on my weekend, and then when you have the children, you can take them to the mosque. I see that for the most part. But when it comes to religion, if that's a big deal for you, then you want to have the final say-so when it comes to religion, okay? You want to make sure that you have that. But for the most part, at some point your children are going to, they're going to have to choose for themselves. And my thing is, the reason I don't see a lot of fight with the religion is because your children were growing up in a household where they saw both religions. So that's why, even when I get parents that don't get along, usually this category they tend to agree on, okay? All right, let's go to extracurricular activities. All right, there's a way that we can actually do this to where there doesn't have to be like a final decision maker when it comes to extracurricular activities. What can you do? Why don't you choose one activity per semester? Have the other person choose one activity per semester. And then what you can do is rotate as to, in certain semesters, whose activity will trump the other activity. And when we talk about trumping the activity, I'm just saying, like your child can be in chess and your child can be in soccer at the same time. But then what happens when, you have a soccer meet and then you have, is it called chess meet? What happens when that happens? So that's the reason we would want to at least have where we kind of rotate as to which activity will actually, come before the other one. But listen to your children, because they'll tell you which one they want to do first, okay? All right, so when it comes to non-emergency health care, little Timmy needs to have a preventative operation. It's not a big deal. It's not necessary, but the doctor has kind of warned you about some things. The doctor has said, well, maybe we can do this. Maybe we should do that. Well, if you have tie-breaking authority when it comes to non-emergency health care, here's how that conversation is going to go. Hey, little Timmy needs to have this particular surgery. The doctor is recommending this. And then the parent on the other end says, well, I understand, but I don't really want little Timmy to have that surgery. And what happens is Whoever has tie-breaking authority when it comes to non-emergency health care, that's the person who chooses. So guess what? Little Timmy could have the surgery if you want the surgery and you have tie-breaking authority when it comes to that, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to education, this is the big one. That's why I kind of went backwards, walked you backwards. When it comes to education, listen, this is pretty much where the child is going to be living. So you want to fight for education, okay? You want to make sure that you have education. But there are certain times when the primary custodial will not have the final decision-making authority when it comes to education. I've seen that. I've seen where mom was actually the primary, but then dad had decision-making authority, final decision-making authority when it came to education. There are a number of reasons that could happen. So I just want you to be aware that just because you're the primary parent does not mean that you get to, you get all four categories. Now, typically we see primary parents get all four categories, but that doesn't happen all the time, okay? There are certain judges that will give you 2 categories and give the other person 2 categories, okay? Now, this video is not about how you can show the judge or argue as to which categories you should have. This video is just to break down the categories for you. So now that you know about those 4 categories, I just want you to be mindful of that, because that goes into a parenting plan, okay? And when we talk about joint legal custody, you are having to confer with the other person, with the other parent, with the person that you should be co-parenting with. Now, when you have sole legal custody, guess what? You don't have to confer with the other person, but you should. You should. You don't have to legally, but you should. Keep in mind, you guys are still co-parenting, so you should. But you don't have to, okay? And there's some other benefits to having sole legal custody when it comes to passport situations. Or the passport office, normally if you don't get the other parent's signature, the dad's signature, or the mom's signature, then you can't get a passport a lot of times. There are some exceptions, okay? But and so a lot of times what we see is people will ask for sole custody so that they can get a passport, so they can have an order in place that says, I have sole custody, so the passport office doesn't require that you have the signature of the other parent. Now, that was just a bonus. That's not even what this video is about. We'll go into all of that in another video. But this video is just to make you aware of those 4 categories and the importance of those 4 categories and what those 4 categories stand for, okay? I'm Attorney Terri S. Herron, your divorce and family law attorney here in the state of Georgia, where we service Fulton County and surrounding areas. Have a great day.